Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Harry from Hasbro TV, back for another video. This time on two of our own with David. So David's told me to introduce him this week um, for once. But David, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
So as you guys might know, a certain person on this panel is turning 26, and it's not me. So let's all wish David a happy birthday. So happy birthday, David.
Thank you very much, mate. It's not until Sunday as you guys watch this. That's why I thought I'd let Harry introduce it. Of course, he plugged his own channel before actually talking about the podcast. What a birthday present that was. No, yeah, it is my birthday on Sunday. Obviously, we're playing Everton. Obviously, the original plan was to go to Everton. Now it's not. Going to have a birthday party. He absolutely smashed instead. And Harry's hopefully coming as well, so that'll be good. Should be coming, really. We were talking about it earlier, and it should be pretty sound.
So we played Tamworth on the weekend and took it to 100 minutes and took an own goal to win the game. Again, another bunch of dreadful football bans, Postecoglou. Let's carry on talking about that.
Right, this is the last time ever that Harry introduces the podcast. Can we do a redo, please? Oh my God.
I mean, that was abysmal. We got just about
the way we played on Sunday was as bad as you just introduced that podcast episode.
Well, that must have been pretty shit then.
A little bit, yeah. Well, first of all, I think there's a game we need to talk about more importantly. We just argued for about 30 seconds before we start recording this. So I want to talk about the Liverpool result and you saying you don't know where our next win's going to come from. And we've won 2-2 since you said that. And hopefully we win the following two as well.
Not really, because it took us 100 minutes and our own goal in extra time to win that game. Not actually 90
minutes.
Who
went through to the next round?
Just about, from an own goal.
Who went through to the next round?
Can I ask you an opinion? What was the level of the team we were playing? Can I ask you?
They're in 96 position. Right. I'm going to tell you something now. There's a guy at work, right? You'll meet him on Saturday night. But there's a guy at work, and he knows fuck all about football, right? Apart from who Goodison is, because he's Romanian. And he knows fuck all about football, yeah? Do you know what? I came into work earlier. He texted me this morning, and he goes, you struggled against the team 100 places lonely. I'm like,
he gets it too.
No, hold on. I was like, what the hell are you chatting, right? Because you don't know nothing about football, so stop pretending. Walk into work, and the face is like, you're right, yeah, you're feeling better, yeah. What do we think of Tottenham? I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? Like, this guy doesn't even like football.
Well, and you're turning us into a joke, so let's be honest.
Well, you and I said I could be arguing about that on my birthday party. It's going to be great. Right, Liverpool first of all.
Was fucking dreadful.
Liverpool first of all, I want to say that I thought Bergwijn was fantastic.
Oh, here we go. Everyone overhyping the young players. He played one good game since Ange.
I'm not allowed to give... Right, Harry, I'm not allowed to give anybody any sort of praise, no?
Let me finish. There's different from saying he was fantastic to saying he was good. There's a big
difference. Was fantastic.
He wasn't fantastic. He was good.
He was. He wasn't fantastic. I thought Gray was brilliant. Him and Goodison are slowly building a bit more of a calmer partnership, and they looked a lot better with our debutant in goal.
I don't think Liverpool really challenged us, to be honest with you, that day.
I'm also going to point out, I still can't remember his name.
Got on the touchline, right, and watching what he was pointing, how he was pointing, and he was trying to settle down. They were taking their time. They knew we have a second leg, right? Yeah, we're taking a 1-0 lead to Anfield. 1-0. We just about scraped the win out of literally like nothing, really. I mean, the game was bad. Like, the football was bad from both sides, really. But you could kind of give some credit to Liverpool because they couldn't really come here and open up. There's two legs of this tie. And this is where playing at home in the first leg is actually a negative because
I never liked that.
If we won like 3-0 or something, 2-3-0, I'd come on here in a much better mood. But we literally scraped something, right? And Liverpool did rest 3 of their back 4. Let's not forget that. And also they did rest Diaz as well, which just kind of changed the dynamic. And they did put Curtis Jones as number 10, or higher up the pitch, wherever it was, which is quite interesting. I mean, resting 3 of the back 4 kind of unsettled them a bit. But I felt like Liverpool kind of turned up and they were like, we'll take a draw. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, Liverpool did pay for a draw, but I'm not going to lie, we could so easily have lost that. And I think, for me personally, there was quite a few instances, there's 1 or 2 specifically, where Pedro Porro had the opportunity to advance forward with the ball, and typically he would have advanced forward with the ball, and he laid the ball off. And then, even though 2 passes later the ball was lost, he wasn't tracking back half as much. He wasn't having to run back half as much because he hadn't advanced half as much.
Then
And
we saw
so,
that against City though, and
which, hold on, just to prove a point. Did I or did I not say to you that our chance of beating Liverpool over this time was playing slightly more defensive and slightly more conservative the way we did against City? And your exact words were, we're not going to play like that because he won't go defensive at home. And that's exactly how we played.
He admitted after the game, they asked him, Ange, did you adapt? He goes, well, I had the midfielders I have, I put them in and they did what they did. There's very different by coming out and saying, yes, we're playing the best team in the country or Europe, as some people are saying, and we needed to change the style or the system. He doesn't come out and say that, does he? So it's half.
But he's not changing the system. He's making small, minute tweaks.
The point. If he said just one word, he had to say, yes, I adapted. That's all he had to say.
Well, that's 3 words. But...
I know, you know what I'm trying to say. The word adapt. But the problem is he doesn't say that, right? And on the touchline, you don't see him doing any action, none apart from this lack of.
So hold on. If it's visibly different the way we're playing in front of you, but because the manager hasn't admitted it, you won't admit that he's adapted. Am I correct?
Because
that's what it sounds like.
No, the problem is, I'd have more respect from me if they actually admitted, look, I learnt my lesson from the 6-3, I adapted. Yeah,
but surely he doesn't need to say it. If the results and the way we played on the pitch show it, then that's more important than saying it.
No, let me finish, because they directly asked him the question. If they didn't directly ask him the question, fair enough, I'll let it slide. But the problem is this guy chats so much nonsense, and unfortunately a lot of what he says, he kind of backs up and all contradicts himself 2 weeks later, especially with the Werner thing. I'll never publicly criticise a player 2 weeks later. He does it to Werner, who was diabolical again. He played him up front on the weekend against Tamworth. It was absolutely embarrassing.
That chance he missed was a joke.
On a consistent basis. And then, so what I'm saying is, and if you don't see, for example, like I said, I watched Slot on the touchline. He was giving certain directions to the players, calm, like this. He was directing where to stand. And they will.
But no offense, surely if you've done a good enough job on the training pitch, players should know where to stand already.
No, the problem is with that argument, right, is the fact that everyone keeps telling me, trust the process. We have young players, and if anything, if we have young players, they need more instructions. If it was a group of, say, 27, 28, say most of our team was like Poch. I don't think Poch needed to give his 11 so many instructions during a game.
Because they all just do what they were doing.
Because they were already 25, 20, do you know what I'm trying to say, right? We had Gray playing at centre-back out of position. People will argue, right? So if anything, he probably needs, another player needs more instructions. Bergvall was playing, probably needs more instructions, right? And initially,
but if you've drilled it into them on the training pitch, then surely... Okay, let me ask you this question. If you're a young chef, right, and you're in the kitchen and you're learning how to cook, and you've been practicing, and I've been drilling into you a certain way, you have to make this a certain way, you have to do this a certain way, this is where you need to be in the kitchen, this is the times you need to set whatever. When I leave you in that kitchen, if it's been drilled into you to so much degree with high intensity, with high pressure, and you've got it outside of in a more informal environment, then surely I would need to give you less instructions because the hard work is already done in that environment, regardless of age or not. I do understand that experience does play a part, and you do need to give more experienced players more feedback than less experienced players.
Right? Because you give an example of a chef, right? Because obviously I was a teacher before. I had a mentor. I had 3 different mentors, actually. But the point was with the mentor is you do whatever you were doing in the class, for example. And after the event, you sit down and do a debrief before the next lesson, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, because you're, and if anything, there were times during those lessons. I remember, I know I'm talking from personal experience now, where the mentor would tell me, no, you should do it this way. As in, I would say, I plan to do it some way, and they would intervene, not completely take over the class, right? It's not like Ange can get on the pitch, but and say, no, do that way, right? Because I'm not saying he needs to completely give all the instructions, but the point is, for an inexperienced person doing a new job or playing a new league in this instance, or playing a different situation, they kind of need more than just Goodison. I don't expect him to give instructions to Goodison because he's an established,
But
player.
I would argue, and this is where I think your logic is slightly flawed. But this is why I'd argue. This is why I'd argue your logic is slightly flawed, because based on what we've seen in the last 10 to 12 weeks, I would actually argue that Goodison needs more instructions than Gray. And Gray's looked like the more mature one, and Gray's looked like the more balanced one and the more level-headed one, apart from twice when he drove into midfield and lost the ball away. And I think that is down to a pure lack of experience. And if you look at, I mean, there's been a couple of times where Goodison's had the ball and he's driven forward with it, most notably one of the games, I can't remember, it might have been against Liverpool, it might have been the game before that, where he had the ball and he drove forward a little bit with it. So I think that's a bad example to give, and I think Spurs are a bad example to give with that, because I feel like a lot of the young players that we kind of have been kind of embedded around people in such a way that 95% of that in training has done the job anyway. I wouldn't necessarily disagree that slight, small, minute moments, but I think that's where you use the footage from previous games to kind of tell a player, look, if you're in this, and Porro against Liverpool is the best example of that. If you look at Porro's positioning against Liverpool when we played against them, and we got battered, and then you look at his positioning in the cup game, I think Andrew's shown him that footage of him and gone, look, in these moments where you've pushed 10 yards forward, 5 yards forward, 8 yards forward, whatever it's be, move a third of that forward. And if the minute they win the ball, you've got less distance to track back. And if you actually look at the footage back from the Liverpool game, there are so many instances where Porro picks up the ball, he looks up, he moves forwards an eighth of what he normally would, plays the pass into midfield, and then takes a step back again. And if you look at the few times where Liverpool attacked down Porro's side, he looks more than comfortable to deal with it. In the same way, you look at Spence. Spence is naturally more defensively minded anyway. But even then, Spence pocketed Salah like unbelievably. He's one of those players in that game. You cannot argue he was phenomenal. And you can sit there and say, oh, Liverpool didn't play their first team. Mohamed Salah is still Mohamed Salah. He has proven that he can play with a bunch of bums at Liverpool and still rip people to shreds.
I'll be honest, I don't think Salah got much of the ball that game, anyway.
No, but the times that he did have the ball, what I'm saying to you is Spence's positioning was so much better.
I think I have a problem with Kulusevski right now, because the past two games, Newcastle, and I'm not saying him himself. Let me land.
You're on about people targeting him. I know what you're saying. I saw your tweet. The thing is, I've got a solution to that, and this is why I think, and if you look at where Bergvall was 3 or 4 times, I think Kulusevski's being dropped slightly deeper like Maddison was, but Kulusevski actually has the physicality to drive with it that Maddison doesn't have.
In the first half, he played Bergvall deeper and Kulusevski higher up the pitch.
And then the second half, he swapped it around, and that's where the goal came from.
I was like, what the nonsense was that in the first half? But especially because someone like Bergvall, putting him deeper in a game like that was just crazy. I was like,
it was pointless. Yeah, if you were playing against like a team that was going to have like 2 banks of 4, they were going to park it, they were going to be really tight, really come out really ultra defensive, then I think that would have been fine, because he's proven that some of the diagonal balls across to fullbacks have been really effective. And actually, he played a ball over. Was it about 15 minutes before he scored? He played a diagonal over to the far side, and it was a really clear ball, and it opened up space. And I think it might have been Werner at the No, I'm sure Bergvall played a similar pass. Porro played one, but Bergvall played a similar pass.
I'm thinking of someone else.
That's another thing, actually, as well. When you talk about saying that, Ange didn't admit he adapted, we played more long balls in that game against Liverpool than I've seen us play under Ange, and they were into Solanke, and the goal came from a long ball into Solanke.
I thought the players are kind of, and I've seen this in previous games, this is why I'm going to bring this up. This is just my opinion. So I was watching Romero over the season, right? And you know how Romero really daddies on the ball, which is a lot of people's gripe, like mine, right? Especially my dad's. I've watched him so many times get the ball and go and literally say, like, fuck it, and just long ball it. I think a lot of the players, they're so tired, because this football's killed them so much, they thought, I'm not going to get the ball, try and play tippy-tappy, blah, blah. Just play the ball long, which we've been crying out for ages anyway. And it's almost like because they're tired...
Okay, I would agree with your logic, but the only thing that makes me differ is, do you remember a game a couple of months back where a player did something and Ange went ballistic and you turned around and said, oh my God, so he does react on the touchline. I think if he didn't want those players to do that and he was actively against them doing that, we'd have a similar kind of
Then
reaction.
the problem with Ange is his reactions on the touch are not constant, so I can't say either way. Like,
No, but I think when we've seen players do stuff that
if
he
you take long
outright
ball, for
doesn't want them to
example,
do,
if you
there
take
is
long
a
ball
clear negative
4
reaction
or 5
there.
times and you say clap twice, I don't know, for example, I'd be like, okay, this is a tactic. But I just feel like when our players are almost like they're so tired, they would have thought, I'm not going to score.
I think you're. The problem is you've been too much in a habit of, if it goes well, it's the players adapting themselves, and if it goes wrong, it's all the manager's fault.
No,
And I
because
think you do have to have a bit
hasn't
more of
come
a
out.
balance.
Like I said, if Ange come out and said, yeah, when they asked him the question, you had these three midfielders, because they asked him about Kulusevski, Bergvall, and who was the other midfielder? Because obviously Bentancur came off.
Basuma, wasn't it?
Zuma, yeah. So they asked him, did you change I can't remember exactly what, did you change the style or the tactic or whatever? And he goes, well, I had the three midfielders I had.
But this is
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
saying to you.
I'm like,
I
why
think
did you
you
say,
take.
yes,
I think you
I
take
learned.
his press conferences too literally.
No, because he's literally, everything he said has literally come true. This is who we are, mate. Playing the same way every week.
But we've proven statistically that that's just not true.
Really?
Just because he says.
Last game we won was Southampton away, who were bottom 6 points. And that was, when was the Southampton win?
I'm just checking now.
I swear it was like, what? December? No, not even December. Maybe it was even November.
Yeah, it was 15th. And actually, yeah, 15th December. All right, Liverpool, yeah. Forest was a weird one, and then Wolves. We should have won that. You can't tell me the Wolves was the manager's fault, because I'm sorry, Fraser Forster literally takes a step away from the ball and is afraid of the ball.
Right.
If Forster is no, I'm sorry, no. If Forster makes any. If Forster made any sort of competent save there, we win that game 2-1. And I completely agree with Ange that was a situation where certain players let the side down in that regard.
You know, another thing he does, yeah? He blames the refs the other day about, this decision, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, he said...
I know. I'll agree with you on that one. Yeah, I know. I know what you're saying. Everybody's been saying it.
Like, rather than saying, some decisions go your way, some don't. Like,
yeah, but then eventually you get sick of it. Like, hold on. But Gary O'Neill said the same thing when he was Wolves manager.
And you know Arteta's comment about the ball or something? It was the FN,
that was stupid, yeah.
Take the piss out of that, fair enough, yeah? But then you sit here and defend our manager who contradicts himself every bloody 5 minutes and say, well, don't take his quotes out of context. Don't take... This guy's chat is so much nonsense, man. Honestly, it's just...
But are you not allowed to change your opinion at a later stage? Like, let me use the best example. When Gary O'Neill was Wolves manager...
Blaming other things, right? Yeah? And this is ironic. Blaming, like, referees, blaming injuries, is you're not taking ownership of the situation, yeah? You're just... what he's trying to do almost to me is like trying to cover his own back. Oh, look, the referees were against us. Oh, look, we've got injuries. When there's teams like Ipswich who have 7 injuries... Yeah.
But no offense, other teams do the same thing anyway. You're just annoyed because it's our manager doing it and you want him to come out and... Right, okay, let me ask you this, Harry. What sort of confidence would it instill in someone if somebody other than you, because you're a different breed, if the manager came out week in, week out and said, yeah, it's my fault, I'm shit, don't worry about it, we'll get there eventually, I'm just going to throw a Hail Mary and hopefully we'll do it. What kind of confidence is that ever going to instill? If you look when Gary O'Neill was at Wolves, right, he was the exact same. It was respect the referees are balanced, and eventually, he even come out and said it himself and said, eventually you get to the point where you're fucking sick of it. And in the end, referees cost him his job.
But the problem is, he does this constantly. And I've seen it on the touchline, right? He'll moan at their decisions, put his hands up, concentrate on your own players. Honestly, like, it's...
But if you don't fight for every decision, though, then eventually you're going to lose games when you don't deserve to lose them because you didn't fight for a decision.
But I'm not talking about the big decisions, right? I can understand the big decisions, right? Yeah, why they have a gripe with it. But we're talking like small things. I even see him going like nuts on the touchline. I'm like, why? It's like, why? And what I'm trying to say is, you can't have this victim mentality where you blame everyone else as to why you're not doing well. Because to me, Ange, I've seen him. People say, "Well, he's calm," like you were one of those people. And this is not a dig at you, but I've said this. Oh, he's a very calm person to touch. This is just how he is. Start comparing to Ancelotti or whatever. And now he's actually...
I remember that podcast episode, actually.
Now he's actually on the touchline. To me, it seems like, well, if he was such a calm guy, then he's clearly losing his head slowly. Like, because if he's suddenly he's reacting to decisions, he's reacting to this.
Yeah,
Like,
I think there is an overbearing frustration which is
he
slowly
knows
seeping
pressure.
out.
I think he knows his pressure's on him.
I think he's more a case of if he loses his job, he wants to lose it because he deserves to lose it, not because of some stupid decisions. And to be honest with you, if you were a football manager, if I were a football manager, we'd all feel the same way. And we have seen managers be sacked. So, and I'm going to use a great example. Did you see the winning goal QPR got against Luton the other day?
No, I don't.
Right, so QPR took a shot from, bearing in mind, Rob Edwards obviously took them to the holy land of the Premier League. Absolute Luton legend. Like, I remember being at work the day they did the playoff trophy lift, and it was fucking mental. I haven't met a single Luton fan, even as much as like yesterday or the day before we got relieved of his duties. I hadn't met a single Luton fan who didn't want him to turn around. Everybody loved and adored him. And considering he's the next Watford manager, although you say that, he lasted about 6 minutes because you know what Watford are like. But yeah, everyone loved him, right? When they played QPR at the weekend, that QPR had a shot from the edge of the box, and it was going miles out, and it deflects off the back of the player's leg, go wrong for the goalie, and goes in, and they lose 2-1. Now at that point in time, like, I don't know, I believe it was just a mutual agreement. His head hadn't quite been there for a while. He was struggling mentally a lot. So I understand that, not a problem. And like I say, the post Luton put out and the process they went about was really good. It was a bit dragged out, a little bit disrespectful, but generally it was really respectful. If you're a manager, you don't want to lose a job based on something like that. So the best example I can give, so those guys who remember my stream football manager save, the last one I did where I spent 8 years at Wolfsburg. Before that, when I was at Istanbul Besiktas, I never managed in Turkish League before. The registration rules are a fucking joke. And I remember we were 2-0 up in a game, and my goalie scored 2 own goals, and we conceded like a 40-odd yard free kick and lost 3-2 from being 2-0 up. And that cost me my job. And I would say...
Were you going to drop it? I take it after that.
No, well, no, I had the guy who was injured. So, but you know what I mean? Like, for me, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, cool, I was shit and I deserve to lose my job by the end. But losing it because my goalie passed the ball out to them or cleared it off an attacker and it went in, that's just fucking stupid. Like, and if you're a manager, you don't want to lose your job because of that. You want to lose your job because of a decision you've made. Do you know what I mean? And I think there is a part of him, yes, there's part of it is pressure, but I think another part of it psychologically is, like, he clearly loves the club and he clearly does want to be successful and he clearly wants to bring silverware to Spurs, right? Not a single person can deny that. I think he's worried that he will lose his job based off things that are out of his control and then live with that permanent regret of, I lost my job because of things that I couldn't do anything about. Like Poch lost his job at Spurs, yes, but Poch lost his job at Spurs because Poch had full control of a £120 million transfer window and bought absolute crap. Poch got sacked because he didn't adapt his tactics over a 10-year period, so that by the end it was stale, it was lethargic, and he was acting like we were still last year in a lane with the same players, and that's what cost him his job. So even though Pochettino went to Chelsea and probably won't ever come back to Spurs in our lifetime now, despite wanting to when he initially left, I think in the back of his mind, he's gone, you know what, I can go to Chelsea because I know the reason I got sacked is my fault. I don't feel hard done by. If I had a do-over, I would do it differently. But ultimately, the decisions that got me to losing 7-2 or whatever it was to Bayern and the decisions that got me to that point were my decisions and I have to live with that. What Ange doesn't want is to sit there going, I got sacked because a player got sent off, or I got sacked because of this, or I got sacked because of that. Things that are out of his control. If he gets sacked because his tactics aren't defensive enough, or if he gets sacked because he's playing players in the wrong positions and they're getting booked and that's causing problems, or you know, he's playing players that don't play in attacking positions, or he's playing players that don't play in defensive positions, and that's what cost him his job, then I think he can live with that because they were his conscious decisions. If he gets sacked...
Come out and said that he's got stuff wrong when he has got stuff wrong.
But this is what I'm saying to you though. Yeah, cool. A humble man admits he's wrong, but a better man does something about it.
You wouldn't know this because, I mean, you weren't really aware under Martin. Martin Yole, right? the 2 weeks before he got
I don't know
sacked,
how you love talking about eras that I don't remember. It's fucking
they asked
annoying.
him, so what the issues at Tottenham or something? He goes, set pieces. I remember he was talking
Yeah,
about we've seen too many goals from set pieces. And lo and behold, I mean, he got sacked 2 weeks later. He was another one who was partly his fault, partly Levy's fault, sort of thing. Like I
yeah,
think Poch was the same sort of thing for me, partly Levy, partly Poch. I
yeah,
mean, but Poch already gave us indications that he wasn't backed by saying, "I'm just the coach. I don't sign the players."
yeah.
Like
But again, I would argue
with
that that was
Ange,
him covering his arse because he knew he couldn't quite get there. And Poch is, if you notice, when the Man United talk started,
yeah, I
that's when
remember.
Poch is it all kind of like it was clear he wanted to go to Man United, right? He had a chat with Alex Ferguson, and he was Alex Ferguson's first choice. And at that time, Alex Ferguson played a massive part in managerial recruitment.
I remember before he got
So
shoved up.
it felt like he was kind of,
Wasn't that in
like you said about Romero covering his back on the way out. It felt like Poch was kind of covering his back on the way out. But because that offer from United never came, he'd already made the comments. It was kind of too late. And then from that point, Levy goes and gives him a big transfer window. And like we all know that it was a poor transfer window.
that window? I mean, Ndombele, I'll give him that. Sessegnon,
Ndombele, Le Session, Lo
I don't
Celso.
know Celso because I don't know. We were linked with Bruno for so long, and we should have really got Bruno, and we've got given Lo Celso. It's just I don't know.
But even now, I still don't think Bruno's a player that we
I
all
really
hyped
like
him up to
Bruno.
be.
That's just me. But,
Yeah,
um,
I just think, like I say, there's many reasons to it, and I do think,
rebuild. It's with Jack Clark. He didn't even know who Jack Clark even was. Remember they asked him,
yeah,
and he was like, "Who's that? I don't know him."
yeah, and in the end, she's ended up becoming a Premier League football player anyway. Who actually I don't think would be a bad squad player, but anyway, it's by the by.
But I don't know. And
Just quickly on Liverpool,
I think a lot of it's ego. Like I think he wants to win not because he loves Spurs. I don't get that impression. It's not like Pochettino, where I got the impression he loves Spurs. Martin Yole, I got the impression. I know he weren't around that much. He loved.
I think Ange wants to win. I think Ange wants to win at Spurs because it's the impossible job.
No, I think it's because he said his nonsense. I was in something in my second season. He's got this arrogance about him.
I don't think so, because even if he didn't make that comment, in the back of his mind, I think he'd still be wanting to win something with Spurs, and he'd still be bearing in mind. We can say, regardless of the performance, on Sunday, on paper, and again, regardless of how you might or might not view the Liverpool game, both cup games, they are the strongest opponent lineups we've put out in those rounds of the cups in as long as I can remember. And one of your biggest issues with Poch, and mine included, was that he did not take domestic cups seriously. Now, regardless of what you think about play style, what you think about the manager, those 11 players that were fielded on Sunday were more than good enough to win that game in normal time.
What I'm worried about with the Tamworth game, okay, and you'll probably hate me for saying this, the fact that
2 seconds, actually, quickly, because I've got one more point on Liverpool, and then we can completely move on from it.
Okay.
My last point on Liverpool. Goalkeeper, starting debut, thought he played really, really well, thought he was really comfortable. They didn't challenge him a lot. There were one or two really good saves. There was one specifically, and I remember talking to you about it last week, where there was one specifically where I remember telling you that he parries out to the side and not out to the front, and we saw, I think it was maybe Diaz, I don't know. There was an example of that where the ball's come to him, it's spinning towards the post. He can easily parry it out into the middle box, and he pushes it way wide. And I think he was so comfortable on the ball. And I think the two centre-backs looked a lot more comfortable than what they have done with someone like Forster. And even though, and I know it's not the final piece of the puzzle, and I know there's a lot more to go, and we'll debate him and Vicario once he's had sort of a 10-game period to comment on, because it's too early to talk about that. Yeah. But I think the impact he had on the two centre-backs in that game against Liverpool in such a short space of time says to me that I think there's more to come from this system that we've seen that's just based on having the right players in the right positions. Even Vicario, who we both said has improved drastically since we signed him. He's a great character, he's a great personality, and I think he's got good leadership qualities. I think even now we're seeing a keeper who has the potential, not saying he will, has the potential to be better suited to Ange's style than a starting goalkeeper we bought 18 months ago. And if we continue that level of growth across the pitch, and it has that sort of impact, and that impact continues exponentially, if we can do that across the pitch, then it's going to be interesting to see how quickly we develop from where we are now, depending on the signs we bring in. Anyway, Tamworth, go. What
I
were you
think
going to say?
I think with Kinski, right? It's only been like 2 games. I mean, Tamworth, he didn't really have much to do.
No. There was one
Liverpool,
reaction save that was like really tight knit, which he parried it over the bar, which I thought was a good save.
the one when he had to throw at the beginning was that one.
No, first half of extra time.
Oh, right.
They had like a late counter right before we scored, and I thought he saved it really, really well.
But like, I don't know. It's too early to tell. He looks confident. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But then I said that about Vicario after the first 3 games. He looked like a confident keeper. But it's too early to call. I mean, him with keepers though is this player could play probably under loads of managers. Keepers aren't like nowadays, especially such a system keeper. It's exactly what I will say is his distribution is probably the best I've seen so far. All our keepers, but the other stuff is too early to call.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I'm not going to sit there and say that he's going to be the next Manuel Neuer or whatever in 2 games, and one being Tamworth. What I will say is what we saw from face value is really promising. I think that's the best way to word it.
I mean, he will probably play in the derby, so we'll see what happens in that game.
Yeah.
Whether Arsenal chuck players on him, like Havertz and them lot, and see how he deals with it, because that's going to be a very different game to what
he didn't feel out of place though, did he? Against Liverpool, he didn't feel out of place at all. It wasn't one of the things. I know your worry was on. I know look, respect younger leagues, and a lot of goalies don't start out in like League 2 or League 1 and then get moved to the Prem. They come from other leagues or they get loans in or whatever. One thing I will say is to be there so quickly and to look so calm and relaxed and composed, I think that naturally helped Gray and Dragusin, because in moments where, even Vicario to be fair, but especially Forster, where he would panic and knock the ball forward and let someone score a tap in, Xerxes, or do you know what I mean? Or any kind of action along those lines where he would put more pressure on the centre-backs. He wouldn't blame the centre-backs, but fans would naturally blame the centre-backs when actually they were put into a lose-lose situation from the start. I didn't see any of that from him in either game.
Yeah, he seemed like
his decision making. One of the points I made, if you remember, one of the points I made was he doesn't think about the pass. He thinks about where can they go if I pass to them, and where can they go if I pass to them, and that's why his pass rate was so successful, or is like the top in the Europa League.
All the balls he played to Spence, for example, were like really good.
Yeah.
This is not. He said like he could play midfield, not even.
I
was like, chuck him in midfield. At least we get some attack going.
Yeah.
But like, I was probably wrong about him, because I was like, why are we signing a goalkeeper? And you were like, no.
But you can see the drastic. I will happily say, I wasn't going to say it so, but now I'll say it so. But I think, like, for me as well, one of the biggest things was Dragusin against Liverpool. That's one of the best I've seen him passing wise in a long time. Probably since his first game. And the reason why I think he was so good is because, like I said when we were talking about him before, and what I saw from analysing him after we'd signed him, was that he doesn't just think about the passing to the defender. He thinks about what options is that defender got if I pass to him. How are we going to keep hold of the ball? And if we're not going to keep hold of the ball passing to Dragusin, then I'll pass to Gray instead. Or I'll go a little bit further and I'll go to Reguilon, like it was against Tamworth. Or I'll go a little bit further and I'll go to Spence. And like you said, there were quite a few balls, especially against Liverpool, into Spence, where normally we'd have played the ball just to the first centre-back. And we've kind of gone out to the full-back, back to the centre-back, and then out, because he knows if he goes to that centre-back, the centre-back's going to be trigger-pressed, they're going to lose the ball and it's going to put pressure on. And I definitely think it will help Vicario, because Vicario, he has those wacky moments, right? Almost Forster-like, where the ball's played into him and he knocks it wide, goes, he's running at me, bang! Or plays it into a centre-back, and then the centre-back gives the ball away. We concede, and then everyone's sitting there going, "Oh my God, Dragusin did this. Oh my God, Gray did this."
You know what Forster did? Not in the same way. Earlier in the season, I remember. I can't remember what game it was though. Game was it? Maybe against Ipswich. Well, no, not Ipswich. Were we playing against Ipswich? There was one game when he almost like kicked it out straight to them. I was like,
yeah.
But like for me with the Tamworth game, what was worrying to me is that number one, the players didn't seem motivated enough, and I think that's down.
I agree with that. They massively disrespected Tamworth as an opposition.
Manager, I think partly for that, because it's manager's responsibility to motivate players, especially because it's a cup game, right? And he talked about the magic of the FA Cup. That was the quotation I saw on Spurs official after the game from him. obviously not that magical because you couldn't get the players up for it. And also another thing was the fact that we had a manager sitting non-league, probably part-time in another job, able to work out our tactics. Because
To
for
be
90,
fair, right, you say that though, but all they did,
they didn't. We didn't do any. We couldn't break them down.
but to be fair, all they did was like defend. No matter how much quality you've got,
But
if you park 11 men or 10
they had
men that
someone
deep
working
and
at
that
Zara.
tight.
I've got someone working at Zara.
But no offense, right, Harry, you could have a team full of 10, 11 of the best football players in the world, and if you have 10 people that tightly compact in front of a box, it is going to be difficult. The one thing I will say that supports what you're saying...
We're not talking about... Everyone on Twitter had a go at me saying, but look back at Poch, we were playing culture stuff, or look at Zagreb, it's the players, but even though it wasn't the same players, because those most of the players that on, which is ironic. I didn't bother replying to them. But like these players... Like it's part for me, in my opinion, it's the manager's responsible to get them up. Like for example, we mentioned Pochettino when we lost the league against Leicester that year, went Newcastle away. I remember I lost my shit at Poch that day because I was watching it on like a stream, whatever, and the guy was not reacting on the touchline, and you could see it all falling apart. And I'm like, this guy's given up too. So the players gave up, and it was like we lost 5-1. Remember?
To be fair, right? The one thing I would say is
the tactics need to work out. Losing part-time players. It maybe convinced me I could play against Tottenham. if a non-league team, right, can keep up Spurs for 100 minutes, it took an own goal by themselves, running it into his own net for us to beat them. Yeah,
he didn't exactly run it into his own net, but okay, it deflected and then but one. Okay, I've got a couple of counterpoints to this.
I'm like. But hold on.
Number one, right? I would say, in terms of motivating players, I'm going to go 49% the manager. And the reason why I'm going 51% the players, and hear me out for this, is if you're a professional football player and you have to be motivated by someone to play in the FA Cup, you don't deserve to play in the FA Cup. So that's my point number one. Point number two is the one thing we did struggle with, and I would admit this, they were very physical. I'm talking like the way, if I was up against you in six-a-side, or do you remember when I used to play five-a-side and there was that clip on Facebook of me trying to tackle my mate and I just hacked him down and I was so aggressive and so... You guys were having on Facebook because
they roughed us up, and it's like
I think the game our squad is built and our style of play is built to be very technical on the ball, right? Unfortunately, even in the Premier League now, it's not like it used to be where if you played against Stoke, away at Stoke in like 2012, it was physical, it was shoulders into you, it was aggressive and almost borderline abusive, right? Or if you go away to Tony Pulis's West Brom, like for the first half an hour, you'd be beaten from pulp to pulp. The Premier League's not like that anymore. Fuck you, Pep. The reason the Premier League is so much more technical, you don't see... Like, if you ever watch on TikTok, right, 2 o'clock in the morning, and watch those highlight videos of, like, tackles from the 90s, and you sit there and think, nobody would get away... Is that what you call a Roy Keane era, where everyone is bad into everybody? You don't get that anymore, right? One, because players are too protected because they're too valuable assets. And two... Because, and yes, I know they're humans. What someone says, I'm talking about how people in the club view them.
Yeah, I know.
And two, because the game's a lot more technical than it used to be, right? Especially even in my lifetime. Like, I remember watching Everton under Roberto Martinez when they had Morales, Lukaku, Barkley, Pienaar, players like that. And even then, that was still a physically aggressive team in comparison to what we have now. And that was only like 15 years ago. So for me personally, I think, or 10 years ago, I think that because the Premier League, and this is where I say that if you had a League Two team play against refer back to my first Spurs game when we played Wickham in the FA Cup, right? We were 2-0 down at half time. One of them was Cameron Carter-Vickers' penalty, whatever. But even in that game, they were a lot more physical than us. Players like Josh Onomah and players like that got bullied because they weren't used to the physicality they were used to having. Yes, people seem to fail to understand that in the Premier League, yes, teams press, but it doesn't mean that they're physical.
I know.
There's two different things. Going up to somebody and standing in their face doesn't make you physical.
No, it's
It
not.
means you press. 90% of the time, you win the ball because your feet have gone in so quickly, you've touched the ball before they have a chance to move it, right? When you're physical, I'm talking one-on-one battles, back-to-backs, jumping off headers, the way Harry Kane plays, or the way Harry Kane played for a long time at Spurs. Those kind of physicalities in players, you don't get that very often anymore, if at all. And
you're right about that.
while I don't necessarily think that is a problem, because I think the game has moved in a way where it's not so necessary, when you then come up against a lower opposition that don't have the technical ability but have the physicality, all of a sudden it's like you're playing a different sport. And I think for me, what I saw against Tamworth wasn't a tactical problem or wasn't a manager problem necessarily. It was almost like the players were playing a different sport. Imagine going from playing tennis, right, where the ball has some weight to it and you're allowed to let it bounce and whatever, but you still got a racket, and then you go and play badminton. They're identical in their rules and they're identical in their equipment, but it's a completely different way of playing.
But then
in badminton, you will, and I've done this because I played badminton competitively, not like fucking stupid level, but I've got medals and stuff for badminton competitions I've won in the past, and that's probably the biggest thing I've ever said in my life. And you will throw yourself from the front to the back of the court. In tennis, you will never throw yourself from the back to the front of the court. You'll throw yourself from the side to the side of the court. In tennis, no one's going to try and drop shot you because the ball has to bounce anyway. So the ball's going to come towards you, and then it's about your positioning to hit it back. In badminton, you fucking smash the shuttlecock over the top, I'm going to whack it back, and the minute you hit it back, I'm drop shotting that motherfucker about 3 centimetres from the other side of the net. And there ain't no way you're getting to it. And even though the equipment is identical, and even though the process of the game is similar, it's two completely different games. And I think that's what it was like for Spurs. When I watched it, I wasn't sat there talking about concerns for the squad or the manager or the tactics. When I think Richarlison would have thrived in a game like that. And the reason why I say that is because when Solanke came on, it was completely different. We had a focal point. He was up against their defenders. And if you notice, that first 10 minutes after Solanke came on, their defenders looked knackered.
Why did he not start Lancashire, though, instead of Werner?
I think Lancashire, unfortunately, doesn't have the experience yes, he has the experience playing in the Premier League level, and he has more physicality, but he doesn't have the physical amount of matchday experience.
Why not up front? Because Werner's like...
This is my point. I think he started Werner just purely to rotate, to minimise injuries, which we've all been crying out for. I personally think he would have been better starting Brennan Johnson through the middle.
I would have played Lancashire, personally.
I think Lancashire's just got too much naivety there for that kind of game.
He played away to Galatasaray and scored a goal.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that, like I say, but again, that football level is here. I think they would have been too physical for him. They would have been too in his head. And unfortunately, Lancashire has proven he's got a bit of a hot streak if you hit the right pedals at the right time.
For me, I would have played him over Werner any day of the week. But
yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Werner should have started.
I could argue two things though here. Number one, Ange has sold Skip and Højbjerg and did not replace them with physical players, which we easily could have played that game. Yeah, and then we don't have a true number six, as in number six like a Makaleli or like a proper number six. And the more I watch Gray, I know he's playing centre back. I more think he'll be better suited playing as actually number 8 rather than number 6. Because
really,
yeah, because
his passing range is unbelievable. By the way,
I can't see him having the physicality he plays in number 6. I just don't think he has it. Unless he bulks up in the next year or two.
I think he will. What we need to remember is he's only 18.
I needs to hit the gym.
Yeah, I bet you were a twig when you were 18.
Yeah, I was.
You were either a twig or short and chubby. I don't know which. You're probably a twig. I think with Gray, though, just quickly before I forget with Gray, the reason why I think he needs to play as a 6 is, do you remember the pass he played was against Liverpool, where he drives out of defence and then outside of the boot through 3 players over to Kulusevski? I think he was on the wing at the time. I think Gray has so much passing ability. I think he needs to be a 6 and needs to bulk up.
Like deep line playmaker sort of thing. That's one.
Yeah.
not a 6 though, because we would need that physicality in that, in my opinion. But anyway, and another thing was I looked at Chelsea's press against us, and that was way more aggressive than our press, right? Like Solanke's
Yeah.
our best presser, but the problem is Solanke is the only one who presses at that level.
You've said this every week for the last 6 weeks. It's driving me nuts.
Because
But
I look
we
at our
spoke. Well, we
players,
spoke last week about potential signings and how that's going to impact and
other
fix
than
that. So
me, that's to do with the poor coaching which Ange picked, and Ange is not doing right. And he's not really. I don't think he's a coach really. That if I'm honest, it's not like Pochettino where he was on the with them all 24/7. Like he lets his coaches, and he keeps on the touchline. The coaches even spend the instructions for the players more than he does, right? Like, and that's the press is a massive problem for us. Like, it's not good enough. Solanke, I give him his flowers. He's probably the best presser we have by a country mile. And
I think Bergval's proven to be quite effective in the press the last couple of weeks as well.
Like, against Liverpool, he was, because that was the one game where I saw Solanke not pressing as much. And it was almost like, to me, they spoke to themselves during the game, because I saw them talking anyway. He was like, you know what, Bergval went to them, you know what, I'm going to do a pressing for you because you look knackered, mate. And then, because literally, Bergval was doing the same pressing that Solanke would normally do, which is quite interesting. And I was like, oh, I noticed that. And another thing, like I say, he didn't sign a physical player. The press isn't good enough. You could even argue that the fact we have more technical players should mean that this aggressiveness should be a moot point, because if we move the ball, me and my dad's biggest gripe that game was we moved the ball so bloody slowly, and it's like if we move the ball quicker, I think we would have scored way like 100 minutes, 100 maybe more.
Yeah, way before. I think the problem was, to be honest with you, it kind of felt like from the off, it kind of felt like the players wanted just to go there win 1-0, conserve as much energy as possible. And to be fair, right, and I understand that is slightly disrespectful on Tamworth, but in a way, I kind of do understand that. The reason why I'm saying that is because if you can go and win 1-0 and just slow the game right down completely and see that game out, conserve your energy while your opponents are running around like headless chickens, I feel like that is probably a smart idea. Like, let me ask you this question: if Werner scored that header, right, and we won 1-0, which he should have scored, if he scores that header and we win 1-0 at normal time.
That happens once a year.
Okay, in some other parallel universe, he scores that goal and we win 1-0 and the players have conserved energy and they've done minimal running and minimal pressing. I'd probably say that's a smart outcome. You've still gone through. You've scored a goal. You don't need to go and batter teams 5 or 6-0.
I would have put Lancashire up front.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, and I think he got that wrong. I think he got that wrong.
I don't know why he didn't just put Lancashire up front. Like, it was just such a weird decision. I was like, why is Werner playing up front? Like, it was just weird, man.
Yeah.
And he brought Son, Kulu, and whoever.
To be fair, I kind of, when I saw the lineup, I was a little bit confused because I thought Brennan Johnson would have been through the middle, and then when I realised that Werner was in the middle, that's when I was like, fuck's sake. I think we'd have still been better if it had been more Johnson. Werner?
I don't think he would have been able to do it in that game, personally. That's just my opinion, though. I mean, like, I just think...
I think he would have done just enough to get us over the line. I think that chance that Werner had, if you give that to Johnson, I think he scores. He's
in that game. Yeah,
that's probably better. Just as a disclaimer, guys, I was at work at the time, so I watched as much of the game as I could.
He had a chance where, like, the ball went across as normal, and somehow, I don't know how he did this, he kicked it out from, like, nothing. And I was like, what? How did you not even hit the target? Anyway, but like the Tamworth players, I'll give massive credit to them. They
absolutely.
But at the same time, I kind of think we made it a lot easier than it should have been for them.
I agree with that premise as well.
Yeah,
on to Everton. It's my birthday. I'm gonna have a hangover, so that if I do keep drinking, then I will do.
Moisey. First game.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about Moyes going back. I think it always felt like that was an unfinished chapter. And I think they've made the right decision to lead him into a new stadium. I think that Moyes will bring stability. He'll be boring, but he'll bring stability. Although ask West Ham fans win the European trophy if it was boring or not. But the style of play is bland, but it's not like that's not what they played in the Sean Dyche anyway. They will score more goals. They will be slightly more open, but not massively more. Yeah, they will score more goals than under Dyche. They barely score them.
They just don't have the players for it.
Well, I think because it's so early on, I
You think
think
of
we'll
the
beat
bounce?
them just. I think we'll win 2-1 because I think
I'm
with
quite worried, if
Moyes,
I'm honest. I'm quite worried because of the new manager bounce.
I was, and I've been saying it all week. But having said that, part of Moyes' play is counter attacking, and I don't think Everton have enough pace to play that
Is he still
effectively.
fit or not?
No, not
Oh.
to my knowledge.
They got to have Harrison and what's the other guy on the wing?
I don't even think
And
Harrison's fit.
Die,
Let me have
and
a look.
Die,
Let me have a look.
and Die. Is that how you say his name? The thing what worries me about Everton is like, I mean, I was worried even if they had Dyche, is they'll be organised defensively. They hit us on set pieces,
So
which
right now, McNeil's injured, Brohi's injured, Garner's injured, Coleman's injured. There. So I'm going to look at the lineup in the game against Peterborough because even though it's a different manager, that's the last example I've got.
Baines was manager up, wasn't
They played a 3-4-3.
he? Yeah.
Beto and Dye, Patterson, Gray, Mangala, Malenko, O'Brien, Keane, and Braithwaite. Now, if they're going to go with effectively a 5 when defending against Spurs, then I would go with Kulusevski on the wing, and I would go with
Man,
Bergvall, Madison, and Bentancur if he's back, if not Basuma. Because I think Bergvall can play, he showed it, he can play off Solanke, which allows Madison to be creative. And Basuma is probably one of our most
I would,
consistent players the last couple of games.
as much as I dislike Johnson, I'd rather, this is my opinion, I'd rather see Kulusevski as the 8 and Bergvall as the 10, with Bissouma or Bentancur as the deeper lying player, just because I think the midfield battle would be better won that way. This is my opinion, by the way. And Johnson on the right, Coleman on
Okay.
the left, and Solanke up front. That's what I would do. Kind of best of a bad situation. But I think my worry with them, apart from manager bounce, is they're very organised. They're always very organised under David Moyes. We always struggle to win there. I think Redknapp was one of the only managers I remember that actually won away to Everton. We used to normally draw that game. And I was even scared that if they kept Dyche, this would be a very unpopular take and probably bite me in the arse on Sunday. But I don't think they should have sacked Sean Dyche because a lot of their fans, I read, are like, the football under Dyche is really bad, blah, 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 blah. We want attacking football, blah, blah, which is a lot like our fans in some ways. And then they bring in David Moyes, who I know he's like a fan favourite. It's like a legacy manager in some ways because he was there for so many years. It's kind of like it, like if in some ways if we brought Poch back, let's say, in some sort of regard. But he never really played that much attacking football at Everton. Like I remember
But
watching
what I think they're bringing Moyes, right now they need stability and they need to stay up. And apart from Sean Dyche, he and Sam Allardyce, Moyes is probably the next best option. And I think right now
but why sack
Everton Everton lack belief. And from what I've read, because you know Sean Dyche actually went to the same secondary school as me. Funny story. Yes, it's a long story. Not at the same time as me, obviously. Before anyone thinks I'm not 26 on Sunday and I'm 56 instead. From what I've read, it seems like Sean Dyche lost belief that he could keep Everton up. And I think once you lose belief in something like that, you have to go. And they say a lot of reports say that his demeanour around the training ground, his head was gone. Like he'd accepted defeat.
I don't know about that. On paper, I thought if they brought in
on paper, I'd understand it, but based on what I've read and based on it seems like.
I mean, I can't speak for what your mate is got.
Jack.
Can't speak for Jack, obviously. I'm just basing on what I've read online. A lot of the gripes with Everton fans on X and on YouTube, because I do watch the occasional Everton channel. I don't know. Don't ask me why, because but a lot of their gripes with the style of the play. I'd argue Dyche and Moyes' style of play isn't that much different. Like, I don't think
it's not. But they will.
If it was me, I would go for the same sort of appointment because they need to stay up, like new stadium. But what I'm saying is, from the fans' point of view, I don't see how they're going to really see if they really deep it and take away the emotional side of Moyes coming back, right? Is the football going to get that much more attacking for them? And I'm not only agree with that style, by the way.
I think it won't do in the short term because I don't think they have the players for it. But I think in the long term, if you give him the right players, I think it will.
Moyes is never
because you say that though, but with his European experience he's gained,
West
he's
Ham.
been a lot more attacking at times with
But didn't
West
they
Ham than
sack
what
him
he
at
ever
West
was.
Ham for this reason? Because he wasn't attacking enough.
No, so supposedly the fans are moaning that the style of football is too
Yeah,
negative and
yeah.
it put West Ham board under pressure. But what people need to understand is when people want attractive football, you can have all the possession in the world, but possession doesn't guarantee you success. Possession doesn't guarantee you results. In the same way, I've always been a firm believer that effective football is better than attacking football or defensive
You
football.
like me? That's the word I use as
Yeah,
well.
I've always said effective football. And I think under Moyes, they have a chance to be a lot more effective than they've been recently. So I would say that's where to go. The
Bear in mind, I didn't know about that,
debt's
guys.
gone, the takeover pressure's gone. It's a complete fresh start. I just think we'll have a little bit too much quality for them. In terms of, I think their new manager balance will get them to a certain point, but I think our quality will get us just a bit above that. I personally would go with the new keeper. His name still eludes me in goal. I would go with Spence,
Yeah.
Spence Dragusin, Spence Gray, Dragusin, Porro. I would go Basuma. I would go
I think we should play
Bergval. I'd go Madison and Bergval. I would go Son, Solanke, and Kulusevski. I just think Kulusevski's balls diagonally into Solanke for him to knock down. We proved that Solanke holding the ball up and playing Bergval as a runner when Bergval's further forward can be really effective. I think if we can have Madison pinging balls into Solanke, Solanke's got Johnson one side, Bergval running beyond in the other. I think that will help us against three centre backs. That being said, Moyes doesn't always play with three centre backs. That was just how they set up in their last game. In fact, let me get Moyes' last formation at West Ham.
But no, you never know. He might adjust based on the players he has. Which would be a good start for us. My worry with that is your idea is great, yeah. But the problem is we'll invert the fullbacks and Madison's space will be taken up where you think he can play the balls.
2 seconds. When was So let's go to the last time they won a game last season. So away to Wolves. How did he set up? See, he set up in a 4-2-3-1. Now, I don't think the Everton have the players for that. I think if Everton set up in a 4-2-3-1, I think we'll get a result. I think we'll win there. If they go into a 5-back, I think it'll be difficult, and I think that's where you're going to have to move someone to support Solanke more. That's where, I hate to say it, but if he's fit, maybe you play Solanke and Richarlison up front together.
I don't think he'll be fit though, Richarlison, from what I've heard.
He's supposed to be back for the North London derby, which is on Wednesday.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope he doesn't chuck him in when he's not fit enough to start.
No, he won't do. But I think that would be a good point.
Probably going to be on the bench that game.
Yeah, I saw someone tweet that actually, and I was thinking, I was like,
because you mentioned that a week ago saying Van der Ven might make the bench for Liverpool. Then they didn't ask him anything else. Then obviously the game passed when we played Tamworth, they didn't really ask him about Van der Ven. So I think he might be on the bench against Arsenal. Or knowing him, he'll just chuck him straight in and they will do his hamstring again.
Potentially, yeah. Just quickly then, what's your score prediction for the Everton game? I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs just. I think we will just about squeeze a winner. I actually think we'll score from set piece.
Really? Oh, I'm saying 1-1.
Okay. Listen, I'll take not losing on my birthday, to be fair. That's what I really give a shit about at this point.
Well, as bad as me, who lost on after my
Can we just talk about, by the way, the last time Spurs played on my birthday, we were 3-2 down away to Leicester, and Bergwijn scored a hat-trick, and we won 3-2. So if that's anything to go.
Last-minute double, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was on my birthday. Because I remember I was eating Chinese takeaway at the time. I don't know what it is about having Chinese on my birthday, although we're probably not going to have Chinese at the party near. We'll probably have pizza instead because Chinese for like 17 people is too expensive. But that makes me sound like a cheapskate.
Don't worry, we order our own pizzas, it's fine.
No. I remember I put my Chinese down and started celebrating the equaliser. And by the time I turned around, the ball was in the back of the net again. It was fucking mental. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It was nuts. You know, my dad said he misses Bergwijn because he has to watch Werner.
To be fair, anyone would make me miss. I'd fucking rather have a Kudu than have Werner, so let's be honest.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
What I was going to say.
Like for me, I think it's a very difficult game.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna shut up shop. I mean, Moyes' teams, to his all credit, has always been organised. They always cause us problems. I think they even beat us at West Ham, didn't he? When he was at
probably.
West Ham, he beat us with West Ham against us.
Yeah,
Maybe he's a double over us, but they're always hard to beat. And then I think with the players he has, I don't think he'll be attacking. Even though I think all the fans want him to be, like I think
yeah,
he'll be organised, hard to beat, and I think it's quite unfortunate with their first game because, I mean, Dyche's first game they beat Arsenal. Remember 1-0. I think remember that.
yeah.
Like it's not come at the right time.
On the topic of that, actually, so
Oh,
obviously
I
you
didn't
guys
know
are
about
hearing
Dyche.
this on.
I didn't know
Obviously, you
about
guys are
Dyche.
here. Yeah, obviously you guys are hearing this on Friday. We're recording it on Monday. So last week's was North London Derby, which hasn't been played by the time we're recording this. So obviously it's a bit chaotic, but this time of year it always is anyway. Next week's going to be fun because we're going to be talking about the Leicester game, which obviously is massively important to me because
Yeah.
it's going to be my little brother's first game. I am so excited. You have no idea. He's so
I'm gonna try and
excited.
come and see you a lot before the game. I'm gonna try.
Yeah, it'd be lovely for my little brother
Quite
to
a
meet you.
complicated day because like I might be able to come down early, but I'm gonna have to speak. Basically, I have a friend
Yeah,
playing around, and then I have to take him to the station. I don't know
yeah,
whether if I take him to the station early, if I tell my dad I can't just go to the game, and I might be able to meet you guys before. Like I don't know.
yeah,
But I don't know
yeah,
if as long as my dad is going with someone, like it's fine. I think I'll probably be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
manage it, but I don't even know yet. Like
Yeah, that's fine. I
yeah,
mean, even if hopefully it won't be his
I'm
last game,
trying,
so
like so I want
it'll
yeah.
be awesome. It'll be
Yeah.
awesome. But we're gonna because obviously I think we're gonna because the club shop doesn't open at 11 till 11, so I think we're gonna aim to be parked and in at the stadium for like 10, 10:15. Obviously, going to go into the stadium, get him his program, get a
Keep them.
couple of bits, whatever, and then going to take him to Chick King for lunch because
Yeah.
obviously you got to do what you got to do. And then obviously I can't take him to the pub because he's only 10. So then we're just going to go into the stadium. I've told him he's not having anything to drink from like half an hour before the game, and I'm going to leave him. I'm going to take him to the toilet quite a few times so he can go for a piss. So he doesn't want to leave halfway through the game. But yeah, I'm really excited. I can't.
I mean,
It's crazy because obviously Harry knew the day I got the tickets and the excitement about the whole build up to Christmas, and then
it should be the one game we should win in the next 10 games.
I would rather get battered on my birthday and then win that game for him than I would the other way around.
That's such a really.
It's because I love my 10-year-old little brother. That's all that says. So, you know.
If Everton 3-0 and then we beat Leicester 1-0, it's like.
Listen, do you know what? If we win it, though, I don't want like the same emotions I had where we were 2-0 down and then losing right at the end and then winning right at the end. Like I kind of want, like the 4-0 where we played Everton and started. Like I'd like something like that for him. He gets to celebrate a couple of goals. Yeah, you know what he said to me? He said, "Oh, can you take a photo of Son during the game?" I was like, "I'm going to be watching the game, mate." He was like, "Yeah, but he'll be right there," and I was like, "What?" Obviously, he's only 10, right? So, Harry, don't think about bullying him for going to stadium just to see Son.
I used to love them. You wouldn't know these players, but Stephen Carr, David Ginola when I was a kid. Like
I know who David Ginola was. I'm not a complete imbecile.
Yeah, but like so basically, in the old Spurs stadium,
Yeah.
they used to have gates at the end of the game, and you could wait for. But obviously back then,
Harry was a stalker. My God.
The places come out and meet like the kids after the game and sign. I have a book right with Casey Keller and there's a few other players in that book that they signed all to the like these players that are not very good by the way. But like I was a kid, and I was like, yeah, I'll get a signature for these players. And in the old White Hart Lane before the game, you could see the players come in like they had seats on the side in the west and in the big gates. They used to open the gates and you can see the players come in their like really big cars or whatever, and they're blacked out, and you were like, "Oh, that's like it used to be like a big thing in the late 90s and 2000s." Honestly, like it was.
So Harry's out here stalking these players, and on Saturday he's gonna have my address. This is really not a good look, is it? Fuck it now.
Honestly, I understand when you're a kid, you're so excited to meet. Because obviously he'll grow up watching players like Son and whoever. I guess Son in his late years, but. Like for me, I was watching like for my idols players like Stephen Carr and David Ginola.
It's crazy you say that though, because we were talking about players the other day, and I was like, right, who like what shirt numbers do you remember? It's like, right, who's number 10? He went Harry Kane, and I went, oh, not anymore. He went, oh, it's Maddison. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he remembers. He loves Maddison. And I was talking to a few other players and whatever, and I haven't really spoke to him. I haven't really spoken to him, really. It's kind of
But
bad,
like,
really.
when
It's
it's
just
like
because
your
I've been
first
kind of
game,
busy, but
but I remember you were talking about your birthday, right? So
yeah.
I had two birthday memories of Tottenham. One, v Wigan 3-1 under Redknapp. That was like a good one. And then the other one, on my 15th birthday, Wednesday night, we're playing Arsenal in the Cup back in like '07. And
Yeah.
the second leg is at the Emirates, sorry, not Highbury. We lost 3-1 in extra time. We got knocked out of the Cup on my 15th birthday. And everyone's taking the piss out of me because I just have to go Greek school, right? And then the Wednesday night, it was a Greek school. So I had Wednesday and then I had Saturday. That's what it used to be like, right? And we literally got home like 5 minutes after kickoff or something because it started at 8. Anyway, and everyone was like, "You're going to lose on your birthday." I was like, "No, I'm not going to lose." It was playing Arsenal, right? And so half the Greeks in my area support Arsenal or Tottenham. That's basically so. Well, when Arsenal play, right, David, I walk down the street and all I see is bloody red shirt. It's really annoying, honestly. I can't escape it. Like I work in Angel as well, but honestly, like it's really bad. But so basically, half the Greek support Tottenham and Arsenal. So before they're like, "You're gonna lose." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Well, anyway, because obviously being Arsenal back then would have been such a massive thing. Then being them in like 10, 15, whatever so years. Obviously, we lost 3-1, and it was like really depressing. 15th birthday.
Thanks for that. What a great way to end the episode. To be fair, we played
So
different teams
everyone's
a
got
couple
good
of
and
times
bad
on my
memories of the
birthday.
birthday of Tottenham. So
Well, to be fair, it's funny you say that, actually, because we've played on my birthday quite a few times, because my birthday always falls around the second Arsenal leg, most times, and
you like me with the January because back then it fell
yeah.
later in January. I think.
Let me see the last time, apart from the Leicester game, the last time we played on my birthday.
It means next year my birthday's going to fall on a Saturday, so it means we might be playing a game. I don't know. Yeah, we might be playing a game. I don't know.
Matches, right. So January last year, January 2023. Oh, we played Man City on my birthday last year and lost 4-2. I don't even remember that game. The year before that, we played Leicester. That was a 3-2 win. That was a good one.
Conte.
2021, we played on the 17th, beat Sheffield United 3-1, and then the 25th, so it wasn't that year. 2020, we played on the 18th and drew 0-0 with Watford. 2019, we played on the 20th and beat Fulham 2-1.
Last year on my birthday, we beat Brentford 3-2.
You know, it's bad. I actually remember that Fulham game. Do you know why I remember that Fulham game? Because Harry Winks scored the winner and ran over to thingy. And I'm pretty sure Nkudu got an assist in that game because I was in Leicester at the time with people that I don't talk to anymore for countless reasons. And I remember the game being on the day after my birthday, so that's interesting. 2018.
Oh, 2018.
We played Southampton. We drew 1-1. That was 2 days after.
2-0 on my birthday to us against United that day. My birthday at Wembley, 31st January 2018. Ericsson scored in the third fastest goal in Premier League history after 10 seconds.
Yeah, I remember. 2016, we played on the day after my birthday, beat Leicester 2-0 away in the FA Cup. 2015.
Oh God, we lost to Chelsea.
We played on the 17th and the 21st, and we won both games. 2014, I'm not going back any further than that.
Mate, some of them I just
2014, we beat Swansea 3-1 on my birthday. I think I remember that game, actually. 2013, who did we play on birthday in 2013?
Mate,
2013, we played the day after we do 1-1 with Man United.
Mate, in 2021, we lost 4-0 to Chelsea on my birthday.
Lol.
In lockdown. And we lost the West Ham penalty on January 2016.
2012, we lost a couple of days later to Man City. 2011, so this would have been my 12th birthday. We played the day after my birthday, beat Arsenal 3-2. That's the one that I remember. I remember that one massively. No, that was November. Hold on. I'm tripping.
Graham Potter says before.
No, it won't let me go back any further than July 2010. But yeah, so generally in and around my birthday, we've had some pretty good results. Apart from the 3-2 loss to City, but I'm pretty sure that was probably a game we deserved to lose anyway. So yeah,
we lost 2-1 to Fulham on my birthday back in the day. Great. So I've had wins and losses.
And we won 2-1 on mine. So generally my birthday tends to be luckier than yours. So let's hope that continues. And with that note, thank you guys so much for watching. It is my birthday on Sunday. So if you're hearing this before then, tweet me, message me, would be lovely. I'm going to see Harry on the Saturday evening going into my birthday. I'll be too drunk to drop him back at the train station afterwards, so I'll have to get an Uber. But I'm going to hopefully pick him up from the train station so he doesn't get mugged walking through Luton. I'm joking, it's not that bad. But yeah, no, it should be really good fun. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. Going to have some pizza, have some drinks. I'm going to get Harry to do a few shots. That'd be great. And then we can talk about that on the podcast next week. What else? I'm going to get... So I actually... Right, this is completely off topic now, but nobody ever listens to the podcast at full length anyway. So basically, when I had a house party, the last time I ever had a house party, in fact, the first and only time I've had one before the one for my birthday on Saturday, was when I left my old job to move to a different job and get a promotion in the process. And I did a house party. It was like the middle of November, and I had roasted marshmallows in the garden. And one of my mates that was at that party is obviously coming to this one, and he was like, bro, you have to do roasted marshmallows again. So just a pre-warning, we're going to have roasted marshmallows in the garden, probably pizza, unless I get a massive discount on Chinese, but probably not going to happen. So probably pizza, some other bits, going to get Cards Against Humanity, going to get some drinking games. It's just going to be a really good laugh. Obviously, I know you've met my stepdad before. You've heard Ryan before because he's been in my room when we've been recording in the past.
I know, I remember.
Literally, he's like, oh, can't wait to tell him Spurs is shit. I was like, listen, mate, if we lose that fucking derby, the first thing Harry's going to say to you on you're right, happy, Harry, I'm Ryan. He'd be like, hi, Ryan, you're shit, mate. And I keep telling him that if they lose at the Emirates, then you're going to completely grill him on Saturday. So don't just stand there being nice, shaking his hand, just call him a fucking wanker and be done with it. But yeah, obviously my stepdad, like I say, my stepdad who you met before.
Yeah.
Other close friends that you've always heard about but never spoken to. Obviously Ben as well coming over. That meeting him for the first time. He's flying over from Ireland on Thursday night. So it's going to be really, really good fun. I'm looking forward to it. Like I say, it's the last time I had a birthday party was my 11th birthday, and it was a pizza and bowling pie. It was a bit of a disaster. Wow. Like that's how long it's been since I've had a I've gone out for a meal or whatever, but that was always with ex-partners' families or whatever. Like I've never had an actual birthday party. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm thinking I might pick up a cheap karaoke machine. So we'll have to get you and Ryan duetting Oh When the Spurs. That'd be fucking brilliant. Listen, if he takes control of the stereo once and puts North London Forever on once, I'm kicking him out of the house and I'm never letting him back in.
North London Forever song, is it that one?
It's fucking North London Forever. It's fucking depressing as fuck. Anyway,
I just think there's 60 million down the drain. Kai
Havertz missed again. Thing is, he actually doesn't rate Havertz, so it's kind of a bad example. Hey, so Campbell, Judas. Oh, mate, it's going to be so much fun. Thing is, my stepdad will join in with that as well, so that'd be good fun. We'll have three of us, and what we'll do, we'll tie Ryan to a chair, leave him in the corner, and force him to listen to Spurs propaganda. Oh, mate, it'll be so good. Do you know, the other day, right, I made dinner and we were sat in the kitchen and he literally spent like 45 minutes trying to justify why Sol Campbell made the right decision.
He did kind of make the right decision, like, let's be honest.
No, but it's like he basically said that he wasn't a snake. And I was like...
He wasn't a snake.
Yes, he was. He was.
In terms, he kind of... But you should watch the... there's a Sky Sports video on this, actually, recently. Search Sol Campbell Sky Sports. It's a covering of the transfer. They do like interviews with people.
Yeah, but I don't believe a word Sol Campbell says. He's just trying to cover his skin.
No. It's not even him who speaks much in the whatever documentary they did. It's really interesting actually, because I actually met his. Anyway, it's a long story. I met his agent back in the day. It's a long story. It's a friend of a family friend, basically.
Anyone who partakes in Sol Campbell's existence is no friend of yours.
No, but anyway, like that's when Campbell was at Tottenham, so.
Oh.
But he did help him go to Arsenal. So, but it was. I remember I was a kid. Yeah, this is why I have trust issues because I actually met Campbell. No, I met Campbell.
Hi, Sol. For my YouTube channel, can you just confirm if you're staying, please?
Basically, no, I didn't have YouTube didn't exist back then. But I was like, oh, because everyone.
For my Skype group call, can you confirm? For my MSN fan chat, can you confirm that Sol Campbell was staying, please?
I didn't have MSN back then. He left in 2001. I was
Fuck
literally
it, you were a pensioner.
I was 8 years old, I think.
For my Ask Jeeves search engine request, can you confirm if
You
you're
never
still...
asked Jeeves. Hey,
I
that was
remember
before
Ask
Google,
Jeeves
man.
literally a little bit before Google.
It was
Oh,
just before
mate.
Google, man. Everyone's going to ask Jeeves. Oh, which is the best search engine? Ask Jeeves. I was like, what?
Yeah.
But like
And
when Google appeared, man, that was the end of literally like
it
everything.
just
I
came out
mean,
of nowhere, didn't it?
but like so I remember I asked him as a kid. I was like, yeah, I'm staying. And then a year later, he fucked off. And then I didn't actually go to that game. You know when he came
So
back.
you're the reason he left. Fucking knew it, you Judas cunt.
You know, I told this story to someone. You know, before we played Arsenal and the derby at Wembley, I met my friend. One of my friends is an Arsenal fan. I took him to the game, right?
Yeah.
And his mates, all his mates that I went were Tottenham fans. So we went to the Tottenham pub before the game, right? Got a bit smashed. And all his mates are like Tottenham fans. It's a long story anyway. And I was talking to his mates about this because I was smashed. I was like, yeah, when I was a kid at Campbell, when he broke, that's why I have trust issues. And the guy was laughing. This guy was laughing about us, thinking this guy's got trust issues with Paul Campbell. But like, I'm not joking. And then he left, and the game we go to Sky Sports to search Campbell returns to Tottenham. My dad was at that game, but I wasn't because I was stuck at Greek school. And I remember seeing the videos because we used to have this. It's a funny story, guys. But in Greek school, there used to be this like caretaker's like room. And back in the day, he had like a small screen, and he used to put the Sky Sports on there. So we used to go there at break time and ask him, "What's the scores?" Like to know what the scores were. And then I remember walking in. I never forget this. And then he has Sky Sports on, and you know they showed the video of when Campbell came back and was holding the banners, and I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "My dad's there."
Great story. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to come back next week to hear me super excited for my little brother's first game and talk about Harry drunk crawling into an Uber. Other than that, we will catch you guys soon. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and rather than come on you Spurs this week, I'm going to say happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. This is ironically, this is episode 25, and it's my last episode of being 25, to which I will become 26. Catch you next week. Come on you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, David.
Thanks, mate.